All right, so I probably don't need to introduce the last speaker of the session. So I'm going to talk about DPPH, the Data Protection for Personal Health project. And let me express the advantage of this to express my gratitude to the many biomed and CS researchers that I've had the privilege to work with over the last years to elaborate these ideas and also culminated in the proposed project that I'm going to describe here in a few words. One topic that was mentioned previously was the very first speaker actually mentioned it was Daniel Scheidegger who mentioned the attacks against the Norwegian system recently, the health data. Unfortunately, there seems to be now a tradition to attack medical data. So, as you know, WannaCry was an all-purpose virus that attacked especially hospitals. Even before that, there were similar phenomena in Germany. So this was, let's say, attacks that were of the nature of ransomware. So unfortunately, is Manolis still around? So no, but so very vocally, Manolis expressed the fact that maybe we don't need to protect data and that legislation is going to be enough. Well, these misdeeds are forbidden by legislation, but they happen. Right? So legislation is good to have, but it's probably not enough. Right? You cannot just rely only on legislation. It has to be there because it provides a framework. You cannot hope that everyone is going to be equal in today's world, and especially in the cyberspace. So these are the kind of concerns. Other concerns are the correlation attacks that have been eloquently addressed by other speakers, including the Homer attacks, so there's probably no need to come back to this. Now, by talking with the various specialists, we have identified the, let's say, set of requirements that need to be addressed in terms of security and privacy for personalized health. And they are summarized on this slide with the goal of, with the concern of having a gradual and pragmatic introduction of the protection tools, taking into account the different levels of sensitivity of the data, the different access rights, as was also mentioned by the speakers, and then the ability, the need to be able to exploit existing data, especially electronic health records. And as Emiliano mentioned, be future-proof can be a challenge in today's world for the limitations of technology. Yet, we have to aim at this and avoid short-sighted bricolage. Then patient consent has been mentioned as well. And then, also let's not forget that the data that is in the databases comes from somewhere, and so there is the pathway that brings the data from the patient to the database, and that pathway has to be protected as well. So for this, we have proposed the medical unlinks system that aims at being able to share data between medical sites in a privacy-preserving and secure way. So here you see different potential hospitals that decide to set up a kind of conglomerate in order to share the data. And the examples have been mentioned before, such as the Beacon and others. But I think one has to go back to the blackboard and rethink the whole design in order to take into account the techniques that can be borrowed by modern privacy and security that were sketched actually by Emiliano, both from the point of view of the crypto and from the point of view of the statistical protection, such as differential privacy. So, in this framework, we have proposed DPPH, so the data protection for personal health. So, this is a response to the challenges raised by P4 medicine. That these challenges are notably the scalability and having to take into account the big data, the efficiency and usability in data sharing, and the mitigation of privacy risks. And I want to emphasize the difference that has been made between the centralized approach, where all the data are put into a central repository in order to have this data processed. And this is done, for example, by Genomics England, but also Human Longevity, the company that Amadi was referring before. That is the easiest from the point of view of computation. Just gather all the data, make your computations, and then find the conclusions. One approach. The other approach is a decentralized approach. This is what the Beacon is doing. This is also our understanding of what SPHN will do in a highly federalistic approach. There have been actually many debates on which of the approaches should be taken in Switzerland for the SPHN. I was also involved in some of those debates. My understanding is that the conversion is on the right part of the slide. We will see what happens in practice, but this is, I think, what is meant to be the case. We also have to acknowledge the fact that eventually, at some level, the right side approach, no matter how cumbersome it can be in terms of computation that have to be carried out, is the one to be taken if you really want to be scalable. Because there's no way to put all the patient's data of all the world in just one repository. Unless you want to entrust Google to do it, of course. But that's a different story. Then, for this reason, we have set up a project that is, as mentioned, DPPH, that brings together 5 research groups in the ETH domain and the Swiss Data Science Center. And so the funding for this project is 3 million francs, which for biomedical researchers is peanuts. But on the side of the security and privacy projects, I think it's the largest project ever in Switzerland in the academic world. And not only just medical system, in general, for security and privacy, I think it's the largest ever. 3 years, as it has to be in this framework, so starting in April, and the funding program is the person's health and related technology, and I'm going to acknowledge our gratitude, express our gratitude to this program to enable this project. And so you see here the smiling faces of the 6 PIs that are involved in this project, and each of them, at some point in time, was sitting in this room today. Right? Well, actually, was or will, because Olivier will, I trust, will be on the panel at the end of the day. So the goal, so this project, in a way, let's say, these characters here are, let's say, quite diverse in terms of background. So these 6 groups are about, data science, about medical aspects, especially genetics, crypto, distributed systems, privacy-conscious data sharing, and ethics. Right? So it's quite a diverse mix of people. One commonality, however, is that they in some way all belong to the ETH domain and therefore can be funded by PHRT, which is great news. Okay, the project goals are to address the main privacy, security, scalability, and ethical challenges of data sharing for enabling effective P4 medicine. Number 1. Number 2, define an optimal balance between usability, scalability, and data protection. And number 3, deploy an appropriate set of computing tools. Okay, we did already some preliminary steps. So one was to set up a workshop that took place a month ago here at TBFN. And the goal was to demonstrate the tools that we already have and also a kind of advertising the kind of techniques that Emiliano was referring to before. And so we had participants from Hubaux, from Lausanne, Geneva, Basel, and also from exotic Chile. Then the format was theoretical and practical sessions, interactions, discussion, and so on. So the findings was that the feedback was very positive, and there's a willingness from the attending hospital representatives to be early adopters of the tools developed within DPPH. These are the enablers, so I don't want to bother you too much with software packages and so on. We make use of I2B2 and Transmart as examples of tools that can be built and that are actually already built on the Adlinks platform. But I2B2, Shrine, and FastMap are examples of tools. The DPPH project is tool agnostic, and there is no decision so far, I think, within SPHN on which tools are going to be standardized, if any. So we will see. The envisioned deployment is meant to be nationwide, so which would include also the friends of Zurich and Bern in particular. This means, working this space means to accept the thrilling challenge to publish both on the side of biomed and on the side of information security. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity to do that, I encourage you to take a look at how the papers are written by these two communities. It's completely different. These are completely different planets, and it will be interesting to know at what time, maybe very early in the 20th century, although, computer science is not that old, but at some point in time, the communities have started to diverge in ways to write papers. Very, very interesting. Okay, there have been a number of events that already took place in genome privacy and security. This one being the last of that series. This means that there are lots and lots and tons of online material. There's also, so much so that there's also a website that actually we have mentioned, genomeprivacy.org, that collects all this information. Let me conclude. So worldwide, the confidentiality of health data is in jeopardy. There's no question about that. And the effective personalized medicine dramatically scales up the amount of data, especially when it involves omics data. Now, Internet of Things and ubiquity of wearable collecting health-related data will further increase the risk. Right? And we hear more and more about genomes on smartphones and sensors and so on and so forth. This is also part of the whole chain. Right? So the DPPH project is meant to be pivotal for enabling data sharing as envisioned and mandated by the SPHN. Right? And of course, this will require substantial collaboration with the other SPHN and PHRT driver projects. We conclude this here and encourage you to check the posters outside that from us and other groups that, let's say, are also an opportunity to even more indulge the coffee break. I'm happy to take questions before. Thank you.